It's not a free market.
No.
There's one story where a guy worked for a nonprofit and then he got hired by the Biden administration, immediately then started awarding grants back to the nonprofit. We see people who work for big pharmaceutical companies and big agricultural companies taking jobs at the FDA. It's not free market when the government is giving out billions and billions in direct cash subsidies and grants to make something happen. It looks like the free market because those somethings then buy advertisements on TV.
I will say this: when I had read Ayn Rand, early on when I was in my 20s, and Atlas Shrugged, and of course like sort of the godmother, I guess, of libertarian thought, or certainly deep in it. And it pissed me off because I was a liberal. Like by the end of the book, I was like, wait a minute, this is pissing me. I thought I was with it. Now you're pissing me off. And it used to always bother me because I thought, in the idea sort of like survival of the fittest, but she didn't sort of deal with monopolies. I felt like ultimately survival of the fittest. If you get enough money in your family and you're passing on your money, eventually, can the Koch brothers, are their children going to be the smartest people running our country? They have an advantage because they're financially strong. And then when I started getting into the issues and investigations that got me into all the trouble that I'm in now, I went back because I was like, maybe I'm missing something. And I remember I typed in Ayn Rand monopolies. And it popped up. It was an old Donahue. I don't know, it's way before your guys' time, but this talk show called Donahue, and she was on. He asked my exact question. He's like, but Ayn, it's a very interesting, idea that survival of the fittest, but what about monopolies? Certainly a company, the train company in the center of, Atlas Shrugged, this family makes enough money. They don't have to be the smartest any longer. They have power. And she said, if you show me a monopoly that did not get government funding,
precisely,
then I will. If you show me one, I will never speak again. She said, I want to be perfectly clear. I'm against welfare for the poor and I'm against welfare for the rich. And what we have is a welfare for the rich. Our government gets involved. It chooses the better products and it changes the entire natural course of all business. And I think that's what we have to look at. It's what we're talking about.
This is the Murray Rothbard position, who is really more of the intellectual guns behind modern. The term is anarcho-capitalism. He coined it. That's the Austrian School of Economics that Javier Milei comes from. And this is precisely his point, is that monopolies only exist when government creates them.
Right. Right. When solar is a great idea, does it make sense to pour, billions of dollars then we throw it out? Or electric cars, at a certain point a market takes over. I mean, it's a good question. How does it compete? But you look at like when Bobby Kennedy or anyone you want to get in, you can't. If you just said, let's just take away all subsidies, like our nation is like it's all built on Band-Aids on Band-Aids. If you tear them off, which is what Trump's doing right now, it's gonna hurt.
I agree largely with the talk about government funding and manipulation and how it controls markets. But there still is a question around artificial dyes, for instance, in foods, because like you were saying earlier, the brighter colors sell better. And you can go back to the stories of the old snake oil salesman. 10 years ago, I was at a mall. You ever see a balance bracelet? You guys know what balance bracelets are? Yeah. It's a lie, is what it is. And what these companies were doing were selling rubber bands, silicon bracelets, and then using a magic trick known to every magician, known as the center of gravity illusion, where you ask a person to. So they do this trick to. It's largely pattern distraction to claim that an object is imbued with magic powers, which they're then going to make disappear or levitate or who knows what. You tell someone it's got magic powers, put it in your hand, and then, or actually you say, put your arms out, stand on one leg. They will put their hand on your arm and pull slightly at a downward, rightward angle away from your center of gravity, causing you to fall over. They will then hand you the magical object imbued with great chi, and you'll hold it in your hand. They then push down slightly towards the center of gravity. To the average person, they don't recognize the slight shift, but when you're pushing towards the center of gravity, the person cannot fall. So they're being pushed down, and they're like, why aren't I falling over? A company figured out this thing and started selling rubber bands, telling everybody the rubber band will improve your performance. They were in malls all across the country. They made, I think, tens of millions of dollars before the FTC stepped in and said, stop tricking people and stealing their money, selling them $50 rubber bands. There is the question of the nanny state. We don't want to be like Mike Bloomberg, who went on TV and said, tax the poor, don't let them buy large sodas because they're stupid and they hurt themselves. But there is a line, right, where we're like, bro, you can't sell rubber bands for $50 and use a magic.
I agree. And the example I like to use is, there's a strong case to be made that modern McDonald's diet causes obesity, and obesity is one of the major drivers of diabetes and a variety of health problems. But do we want to have the state saying that you can't eat McDonald's hamburgers and drink sugary Coca-Colas? We don't. That's, I think most of us would agree that's not okay. But then the converse is, if those McDonald's products are using, let's say, seed oils in their manufacturing that is associated with health risks that are, above and beyond the call, and they don't have to do those things, does the state have the right to say, no, we're not going to allow you to use seed oils? Now, I'm not advocating that position right now, but I'm making the point.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Culture War podcast. We're live every Friday, 10 a.m. to noon, so subscribe and come hang out.